It is June and it has been a while since I made this kind of video. So in today's video, I'll be talking about May and April of all the games I played and what are my reviews and thoughts about these games. So let's get into that. Hello and welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Vashal and this is Play. And as I said, in this video, I'll be talking about the games I play in May and April. Luckily, I didn't have a large list, and having to combine and share them with you is much more easier for me, and that way I can cover and talk about these games. The way I list them is based on the order as I play them. I will also talk about games that I tried for a while, but I didn't manage to complete or beat them, but I have a little bit of an idea, and probably in the next couple of months I'll be talking in a full depth review like this one, so stay tuned for that. That being said, let's get into the list and talk about the first game that I played in April. So the first game that I played in April was Dragon's Dogma 2. This was a continuation because I started a month before, and I did talk briefly about the game, but I managed to fully complete it back in April, and I really had a blast with this game. To be honest, after spending 142 hours in the game, I can say that I felt like the game was fairly short for what I expected. And I know that a lot of people will be like, what do you mean by short? Because short game might be like a couple of hours. But to tell you the truth, I really enjoyed the game for what it was, and I really thought that it was a great sequel for the series. I've enjoyed the first one quite a lot when I played it many years when it came out, and I tried to revisit it before I jumped into this one. What I really enjoyed about this game was the overall visuals of the game. It was incredible, and the combat itself. The idea that you could switch up between weapons and professions, it was incredible and very fun. But there were a couple of things that of course came as an issue for a lot of people, which was the performance. Eventually the developers managed to patch the game up, but it did had its own problems for quite some time, and currently looking at the Steam reviews, it's still in mixed reviews because of it. You would have a lot of performance issues even on higher systems like the third generation of the RTX series, and above it would have a little bit less of an issue, but anything below that would struggle with anything like that. The quests were very interesting. What I really liked about was the fact that you had that freedom to go and explore, and paying attention to what characters and NPCs had to say was important and vital for you to know what is your next move. Also, what I really liked about this game was the character customization. It is one of the best ones that I've seen so far in any RPG games that I played, and I really enjoyed the range of character customization I had for this one. And despite going with a human character, I made a Bistren as my pawn, and I carried over with it. And if I remember right, they were saying that it was very important that you will have a mix and match between having a Bistren and a human, or vice versa, depending on what you're having. Companions really played an important role in this one, as they did in the first game. They were slightly much more improved. The AI was a little bit much more smarter, but I did find that sometimes they were quite goofy, falling off the cliffs and such, and issues like that. It was much better in my opinion, but in some areas like dialogues and repetition was quite annoying at some times, so you would have them repeat themselves oftentimes when they would see a ladder, oh look, a ladder, and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a little bit strange. The world design was incredible. I really enjoyed it, and I do not remember much of the map from the first one, even if I played a little bit, and the whole area is different. So if you have a fresh start in the franchise and you want to go with Dragon's Dogma 2, you can definitely go and do so. It is a good fresh start getting introduced in the world, and the enemy variety is fairly the same like it was in the old one. You won't see many new creatures introduced in this one, unfortunately, and it is a shame. A lot of varieties and new creatures could have been added, but it was a missed opportunity in my opinion. A lot of them, you will be re-seeing them. They will obviously look different and all that. You will have a few variations for the monsters, but other than that, there's not much of an improvement over the first one. The story of Dragon's Dogma 2 is quite interesting, and it branches out in many areas, especially the main quest. You do get to to explore more and more the ins and outs of the castles that are in the main cities, which I really like. I feel like Dragon's Dogma Dark Edition had more quests that were outside of the city, and I don't recall playing in the main city, so it might be that. So I did enjoy that, and you get to explore the ins and outs of the castle and the cities and create connections with all the characters and whatnot. But you also had a lot of outside of the world and getting to explore and stuff like that. And as I said, the game does not hold your hand in any other way, so you have the freedom to go and explore by yourself. Oftentimes people would find this a little bit frustrating and confusing because the game does not hold your hand, and that is perfectly understandable. But if you're playing games like Skyrim or any other RPGs, like I believe The Witcher 3 does that as well, where you go ahead and you walk by an NPC and all of a sudden he has a quest for you. Well, this game is very similar in that kind of style, and I personally like it because you're constantly being surprised by what are the next things that you're gonna encounter. And there were some really good quests out there that I really enjoyed, and what I like about them is that some of the quests do have an impact on the world. Some characters possibly die. Pretty much every single character can die in the game, so you have to be very careful on your decisions and be careful what you're doing, because it is crucial that you pay attention and follow especially the quests that require a time limit. So don't make mistakes as I did, where you could simply ignore a quest and think that you have enough time to finish it, because you don't, and you will miss out the possibility and maybe even have the character die. I had one incident like that, which I'm not gonna go into details. Other than that, the story was very interesting. You will be left out a couple of surprises, especially since when you start the game you'll be like, what is this? Is this like a reboot? The game will explain itself later on, so keep on playing and you will find out why is it called the way it is. That being said, I really enjoyed this game. I scored it as excellent despite its flaws when it comes to performance. I really thought that the game was fun and I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend trying this game out. Nevertheless, if you are into RPGs or not, this game combines action adventure with RPG elements, and they're very fun and easy to get into. And if you enjoyed other games from Capcom like Monster Hunter, you're definitely gonna find a couple of things that are really similar in this one. So I highly recommend checking the game out. I do not want to go too much in detail, but I did enjoy the game quite a lot, and as I said, I expected it to be longer and it wasn't. Not a disappointment by all means, but very few games that I try out, I feel like either they stretch out too much, but this one I felt like I wanted more, and I hope to see maybe a DLC or something like that that will be added later on, and I'll be looking forward to try it out and see what other improvements have been made. That being said, let's talk about the next game. So the next game that I played right after finishing Dragon's Dogma is A Short Hike, and this is an adventure game where you play as a bird on an island trying to get to the top of the mountain to get a signal to call your mom. At least that is the plot of the story, and the whole journey is to establish relationships, connect with other characters on the island, hear their stories, help them out, stuff like that, and get all the way to the top of the mountain. You do collect a couple of feathers, which are your upgrades to help to fly further up and get as fast as possible all the way up. And the mechanics itself is quite fun and enjoyable. You have a couple of mini games and such, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the game. I did not like as much the connections you had with the characters that you met on the island. A lot of the time I couldn't care any less about the characters that were on the island. It's because of the short, brief introduction you would have with them. Although the conversations were sweet and light-hearted, I was a little bit confused, and keeping track of all of them and where they are located is a little bit confusing. The map itself is a little bit hard to follow along because of the fact that it is rotating as you move around the island, and it's hard to keep track of where you are. So sometimes it is fairly difficult, and I had a hard time remembering where I need to go next. So that was a couple of things that I didn't like about the game. Other than that, I thought that it is a very relaxing game, and it's fun to distress or play after a hard game that you have on your backlog or library. So yeah, I thought that it is an interesting game. I did score it as a decent game. I didn't find like it's doing anything impressive for me, but I heard a lot of people liking the game despite me criticizing it. I felt like the light-hearted discussions and stuff like that were not my personal cup of tea, but still, overall, I still enjoyed the game and I still recommend it to other people to go ahead and try it out. So those were the games that I played in April. Not many games, to tell you the truth. Dragon's Dogma, it stole a good chunk of time that I really enjoyed, and I'm really happy that I managed to at least complete 2 games. The rest of the games I did try to get a little bit in others and as well complete them, but mainly what I did was I completed them in May. So let's talk about May, what I played in May, as it was a little bit much more smaller month when it comes to the games that I played. So in May I played ABZU, and that was the first game that I got into. It is a relaxing swimming simulator where you play as an explorer and get to explore the depths of the seas. It follows a very simple story that it's left for interpretation, and the gorgeous art style is what captivated me to try this game out. I really enjoy the simple controls, and the story is fairly touching, which I'm not gonna go much into details. There's no dialogues or anything like that. It is very much like other games that I played a couple of months ago, where you're left to interpret the story for yourself, and I really enjoy that. The things that I didn't like was the fact it was quite simple when it comes to the gameplay. You weren't able to do many things except just swim about and go and interact with a couple of objects that were collectibles in the game, and other than that you just swim around and go from chapter to chapter. The game can be a little bit boring, especially if you're playing at night or on the Steam Deck as I played it, so I don't recommend playing this game if you're planning to go to bed anytime soon, because it's such a relaxing game that it will put you to sleep. That might be a positive for some people, but for me, I try to be more engaged and I couldn't play for long sessions because the game is way too relaxing, and it doesn't captivate you as strongly because of the swimming simulation, and you're not really engaging and doing anything specifically. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. The sound quality is great, good music and all that, great visuals and great controls nonetheless. I really enjoyed it and I scored this game as decent. I do recommend this game to try out if you want to have a relaxing time like a short hike was, and definitely worth it. I felt like the last couple of months were a lot more stressful for me, so getting to play games that were much more relaxing really helped a lot. And that being said, let's talk about the next game that I played. So the next game that I played is also an indie, and it's called Finding Paradise. I did talk about this series and I really have these games close to my heart because of the heartwarming stories. They're really touching and I really enjoy this one. To be honest, very close to putting it as the best game that I played amongst the other series. I really love To the Moon for its uniqueness and when you first start the game, but Finding Paradise really touched me a lot. The music was much better now this time around, and I actually cried while playing this game. The story itself follows kind of the same narrative, and we have again the same characters being part of this lovely story. Dr. Neil Watts and Dr. Eva Rosaline make a comeback in this game, and of course they are just as funny as they were in the first one, and I really enjoy that. So the story pretty much is the same. You are told to investigate and help out a dying patient and try to reprogram his memories to help him out slightly to be happy before he transitions to the afterworld. So it is fairly the same in kind of concept, but it really has a touching story, and as I said, I quite a bit when it comes to that. There's a couple of interesting plot twists that I enjoyed, and you get to have a little bit of improvement when it comes to character customization, and that is slightly at the beginning of the game, and it's more like a gimmick and you carry on with it. You can always, if I remember right, switch back to however you want the characters to look like. The pixelated, a very simplistic art style, it's not, you know, giving too much flair to the game itself, so I didn't find that it was a necessity. I kept the game as it was with the basic skins or hairstyles, and I was happy with what it was. There's no further improvement when it comes to the game mechanics. The puzzles are slightly a little bit changed changed over to the moon, and of course we have a return back to the dialogues being happening compared to the prequel that I played with the bird story, where you have no dialogues whatsoever. So I was really happy to be able to get engaged in the story as it was to the moon. So that being said, I really gave this game the score of excellent for the sheer amount of emotions that I felt, the story that captivated me, and overall I really think it's a great sequel to the franchise, and I highly recommend it if you love visual novels or you want to try something lighthearted. And it's very easy to complete, and once you beat the story you're pretty much done with the game. You don't have to worry about it because you'll have it 100%. It took me roughly about 6 hours to do so great game to complete. And moving on, let's talk about another game, and that game is The Room 2. So I did talk about this one a while back, a couple of months ago, that I tried it out and I kind of felt like the game was not as fun as the first one, for the simple fact that I felt like I played them back to back and the puzzles did not feel as challenging and as interesting as the first one was, and for a good reason. A lot of the puzzles did fairly simplistic compared to the first one. I felt like the complexity of the puzzles were a lot more challenging in the first one. I really had to wrap my head, and noticing objects and interactable buttons and stuff like that was a lot more troublesome, while in this one I really found them a lot more simple and much more straightforward. The gimmick that this game came with was the fact that you could switch between locations, so you would have one puzzle and that puzzle would unlock a key or any other object, and you would use that for another area in the room. So it was much more going back and forth in that kind of sense, so you had to keep track and have a good memory to recall what is your next objective and where you need to go forward. But overall it wasn't too difficult and I didn't struggle to identify the puzzles itself. The story continues in a different location, and it is quite interesting, but it's not something that I was really wowed by it. If you'd really want to follow the story itself, it's fairly decent, and I don't think it is the main strong aspect of the game. The visuals of the game look good. It is slightly more improved, more animations and whatnot. Cutscenes are a little bit improved, and yeah, overall quite good. I would say that I rate this game as decent, as it didn't do as much as I wanted it for me, and that is because I played this game back to back with the first one and really feel like you need to space them out in between, so you kind of forget the whole spiel of the game and how things are. Otherwise, I felt like oftentimes I wanted to actually give it as not recommended because I simply didn't have that much fun, and I found that the game was fairly boring as it was. Yeah, that was pretty much my initial thought, and it carried over. The ending was a little bit much more better in my opinion than the first one, maybe because of the cutscenes, and it kind of got interesting and dark, so I really liked that one. It was pretty cool, the whole areas, but other than that it was not too impressive. So now I'm left with two games that I tried out, and the first game is called Super Mario Bros. Wonders. This game came out in 2023 and it was nominated as Game of the Year. It is a very fun puzzle co-op game, but very difficult. Me and Armea, we played this game together on the Switch and it looked great, and we had a little bit of fun with it, to be honest. We jumped in blindly. We haven't played a Mario game in a very long time, and I really enjoyed the visuals and the uniqueness of each map, but the difficulty can be a little bit challenging and hard to get into if you haven't played a platformer before. So we died a lot, but playing it co-op was quite fun and I enjoyed it. It was fun. I can't say much about the story because I kind of jumped in and I just played a couple of maps with her and we did a couple of puzzles. We struggled quite a bit and I only sank about an hour and a half in the game, so I don't have that much of an experience. I don't even know much about the story, but overall from what I experienced as second-hand experience or something like that, I enjoyed it and it's fun, and I highly recommend to try the game out if you are considering it. For little amount as I played, it's great to play with somebody that is much younger, like an underage person, or you can play it with your partner. I think it's for all ages and you can have a ton of fun with it. As I said, graphically it's quite good. There's a little bit of changes of how Mario looks and Luigi and everybody else, and I liked it. The animation were great and good music as well, so very enjoyable experience, and I'm looking forward to get back into the game, probably go for a completionist run at some point in time, or just simply play play it as it is on the Switch. That being said, let's move on to the next game, which was the last one I tried out, and that is Tunic. Tunic is down isometric soul-like game with very cute art style. I won via Steam gifts and I gave the game a shot. Now, the reason why I didn't manage to complete it was because I jumped in other games. I had to do a couple of reviews and I wanted to play some games that I'll be talking about next month, about what I played this June. So I played it for a good 2.5 hours, maybe more, and I really enjoyed it. The game itself, it is challenging, and the cutesy art style really captivated me. I like the fact that you have to explore and find out more about the world. There's a lot of puzzles, there's a lot of secrets in this game, and exploration is a little bit confusing at first. Finding your path can be a little bit difficult, but once you unlock and get yourself your sword and stuff like that, you get to unlock new areas. So it kind of has like a Metrovanian kind of elements, and I like that. And I'm gonna have to return back to the game and try to complete it. I know that it is difficult and it will take me a while, but the game was on my radar for quite some time, and winning it on the Steam gifts was a great thing, and I'm really happy for that. So getting to try it out is fun. I do plan to complete it, as I said, but who knows how much time I'm gonna spend with it because of the complexity and difficulty that this game is. I don't play that many Souls-like games, not because I don't like them, it is because I need to get in the headspace to play a difficult game, and after that I like to de-stress and play some casual games like the games listed above. So that's pretty much one of the reasons why I don't get into this genre that much. But I'll be playing and I'll be sharing more details once I finish the game, and I'll be talking in the near future, as I don't plan to leave it hanging just like that. But that will take some time, as I'm playing other games at the moment, which I'm not gonna go too much into details to not spoil it. But that being said, that's all the games that I played and completed this month. So those were the games that I played in April and May. Let me know in the comments which of the games have you tried out, or what are your thoughts on the games that I share. Do you have any kind of questions? Drop them down in the section below. Also, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. And as well, if you want to help me out to push this content more to other people, liking it helps a great deal. So thank you so much for all the support, watching until the end, and as always, take care, stay safe, and happy gaming.